I give up. I give up. I give up. In the past few months, I've gone out of my way to operate as authentically as possible, voicing my opinions and gripes with people in good nature. Not forcing or faking emotions for the comfort of others. Not lying to myself about negative emotions and thoughts that arise in me. Maybe even walking slower and at my own pace. I've been doing this for a while and noticed how people I interact with have changed in response to this. So one day I'm walking slow and I don't really feel that good that day. People are walking past me, and a year ago I might have forced a smile, but now I just don't. My brow is low and furrowed. My shoulders are heavy, and I'm passing people, looking at them when it feels natural. And what's strange is there aren't any neutral responses to this kind of behavior. Some people would look at me and hold the stare for a while. Some people would stare and then we would both kind of laugh like some inside joke, some resonance, or we just found something funny in each other. Some would stare, feel the need to say hello, and then give some self-comforting, pious laugh. You know that kind of laugh, like, like, you know, some bullshit. I wasn't trying to be cold in that moment, walking. I just don't want to fake niceness or warmth anymore. One girl even passes me and she's like, yikes, right? She's like, yikes, nah. Which was really rude and annoying. And that's exactly what she sounds like. That's what my ears heard, okay? And it was so interesting, with all these people I passed, how none of them could just keep it real, how uncomfortable they were. The vast majority of people responded with negative energy. No one could meet me somewhere authentic. I mean, there were a couple, those laughs I shared. Well, just one, really. But most people had to posture, and the whole ordeal was just disappointing. Disappointment. Now, I'm a sensitive guy. I'm not gonna lie. I've always been this way. It lends to my skill sets that you see on this channel. It's a blessing and a curse. I feel my whole environment, everything in it. I always give people the benefit of the doubt and open myself to them. Why? Because to me, that's human decency. Even when I'm not feeling good, my best, I try to be present and respectful. I expect some reciprocity. I'm here. I'm being honest with you. So when I get something shallow or negative in return, it fucking hurts. It hurts my feelings, man. And it happens more often than not. As I've grown, I've realized many of the people I once admired even were just playing some role when it came time for them to actually be that, spiritually advanced or emotionally intelligent person I thought they were or who they even claimed to be. They folded. They couldn't show up. They fell short every time. Airtime. It could be something small like, oh, I remember this one girl, right? I see her and she's like, oh, hey, Harold, let's go do blah, blah, blah. Let's go out and do that. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, oh, I'm free all day tomorrow. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't guarantee anything, but I'll call you in the morning. I would like to do that with you. And so when I call her the next day, she's doing something else entirely. And I'm like, oh, I thought you were free all day today. I thought, we had planned. I was going to call you and tell you the situation. And she's like, oh, well, something came up. And then even worse, she's like, oh, why don't you call Jimmy? He might be free right now. Call Jimmy. What the fuck? What the hell? It's that tiny bit of fakeness that hurts. It's that bullshit. Because on the surface, you can play it off as an innocent mistake and gaslight a person in a situation like that. That's what they can do. It's that plausible deniability. But in truth, it represents, on a deeper layer, they don't care about you. And you are just someone they can pass off like a baton. Oh, why don't you go? Jimmy might be free. Nah. And the more I keep just showing up authentically, not performing for approval, not morphing into what makes others comfortable, just trying to be real, honest, and show up as myself, the more I see how performative everyone else is. The lie becomes obvious. And it's all so very, very, very disappointing. I'm not perfect either, right? I expect others to hold me accountable as well. I am abnormally perceptive and responsive to criticism. I'll engage with it, think about it, even if it hurts my feelings, my ego. And I do that as a service to people because I know that's what it takes to communicate and make people feel valued. But still, I'm realizing that most people aren't willing to do that with me. And, at some point, that realization became so just heavy and disappointing that I was regularly filled with resentment for humanity. I felt that way at the end of every day that I interacted with people for some period of time. Resentment. You know what? It's okay. Resentment's okay. And I know people will say, don't resent, right? Shake that weight off and fly, right? Okay, that's partially true, but it's not the whole story. You cannot shake off what you don't acknowledge. If I'm resentful, I have the right to be. Okay? There has been an injustice. Am I supposed to ignore it and act as if I didn't deserve better treatment? There's a time to fly, yes. There's a time to fry, yes. Hatred has its place. There's no love without hatred. And when its time has come, as I sit in my room and ask God for better, God will wash my spirit clean. Or something like that. A shower, a day to myself, a walk through the forest, a moment to meditate after the storm passes in my heart. These are the kind of practices that cleanse the dirt and the grime left from living, shakes off the dust and the clay. But it all happens between God and I, no one else. I wake alone, I sleep alone, in the bosom of hope for goodness. Even if someone were laying beside me, they can't follow me to the grave or the dreamscape. It's just me. Authenticity, real, equals alone. I had a dream last night where I had rented an Airbnb with some girl. And even though we were staying in the same house, she spoke to me through FaceTime in the same abode. And when our rent period for that Airbnb had ended, another man who happened to have been a mentor of mine came in with a girl of his own. And I didn't know when I saw him that my rent period had ended. And when I walked in, I saw him kind of arguing with the girl. It wasn't in an aggressive manner. It was more so you could see that she was kind of stressing him out a little bit, just kind of tripping. And as I sat down with him after, I told him how he had helped me so much as a mentor. He then mentioned to me how that girl he was just in a dispute with was sending all his weekend plans to her friends, like snapshotting their conversations of them. And I responded, I was like, that sounds like reconnaissance. Like she's some sort of agent tracking you, reporting to the Russian government. And he's like, no, it's worse. It's a box. It's a box, a snapshot that cannot truly capture who you are. Then he says something like, you must always remember that you are the first and last stop, that you must care for yourself above all. And when I awoke and pondered the dream, it all made sense to me. This woman, or anyone really, can be in your home, in your heart, say they are with you, but not actually meet you while there. My conversation with the mentor after the fact was solace for the solemn message the dream sent me. Many people, even those with whom I might share my heart, can never replace the space and love and care I could have for myself. Meet yourself in that home. Meet yourself in your heart. And many might frame this kind of stoicism, if you want to call it, as coping or aversion to vulnerability. But it's quite the opposite. It's quite the opposite indeed. In solitude, one can find liberation, sovereignty, and self-generate unconditional love. Only from that place of wholeness can someone even truly love another person without need or attachment. It's saying, I am full already. I love myself enough already. I love you because you deserve it, not because I need you to love me back. Jesus, Yeshua, Jesus, JC, now and again, as I search for salvation, peace in my soul, and a life worth living, I recall Jesus, JC, Jesus. And I've never been particularly pious or devout, but I might live through a situation in life or an experience and think, this reminds me of that one Jesus story. This was what that was about, huh? Jesus, following a righteous path, was often misunderstood, scapegoated, and alone. In the story of Jesus, one of his closest companions, Judas, would be the one to snitch on him, give him to the Romans for his inevitable crucifixion. Not to say that I'm freaking Jesus. Jesus. But also, you know what? I'm not saying I'm not Jesus either. All right? I just might walk on that lake tomorrow. You might see me moonwalking over the river. All right? Watch out. You don't know. Anyway, I really say all this to say, his stories give me a kind of solace to know that in a sacred story, Jesus, the pinnacle of righteousness, God is immortal, as they say, underwent trials, isolation, betrayals, and emotional pain, similar to my own, lending me confidence, power, and encouragement. That's what it does for me. Humanity is dark and messed up. It's in our friends. It's in us. Even Jesus had to confront the devil alone for 40 days. But if I keep pushing and praying, I cannot lose, and my story might enlighten generations to come. And I guess that'd be pretty cool. God help me. And he usually does. He usually answers. And in this moment, he says to me that every soul lives by a code, whether they are conscious of it or not. A constitution, a set of laws, a guiding mission and purpose. These are what guide our thoughts and actions. The extent to which that mission serves the self versus the greater good decides whether a soul is destined or damned. I believe that I must serve myself for the greater good. I must endure damnation, hell on earth, many times of my own doing, my own naivety and ignorance, to truly appreciate and desire salvation. So I've devised a Sovereignty Manifesto. These are some rules to live by in the often solitary and dark path towards the light. May I walk straight and never veer for ego. These guidelines guide mine. And the first rule I wrote in the manifesto says, trust God, not people. I do not trust the people God puts in my life. I trust that God puts the right people in my life at the right time. I trust that in each encounter there's a lesson to learn and a role to play. I trust divine alignment, not mortal promises. Number 2, in people, believe, but never expect, for only heartache awaits. If you have, Mark Norman tells a joke, one stand-up special I saw him say, never have hope. Hope is never good. And, I don't entirely agree, but hope can bring a lot of suffering. Because if you wish the best or see the best in people and give them the benefit of the doubt, 9 times out of 10 you will be disappointed. And you'll be in perpetual pain that will brood and ferment into a deep resentment for humans. And we know where that goes. History has told that story many a times, and usually it ends in a bloodbath. So rule number 3 is be the pillar that doesn't disappoint. Be the one who hope is not wasted on. Just meeting one person who lives up to a standard of goodness can change a whole person's perspective on people, on life. A day is all it takes sometimes, one interaction. This lends itself to rule number 4, which is have integrity and self-respect. I will not say that I don't know that man as he faces persecution. See, in that moment, if I lied to you, I've lied to myself. And now that pillar I sought to be stands in sand. And now my castle stands in pillars of salt, pillars of sand. Viva la vida, man. But rooted in law, I'm more like a cedar. Tall cedar tree planted by streams of water, bearing fruit in its season, prosperity for all. But rule number 5 is important because through this, one must have flow, intuition, discernment. The other day, I had a short break in between class hours. So I left the lecture hall and felt compelled to stand outside the entrance for a moment. I had no particular plan. Should I eat? Should I speak? Perhaps go outside, get some sun? As I ruminated by the lecture hall doors, feet planted, index fingers and thumbs touching in a kind of power pose. You know that triangle like Trump makes when he's sitting with his fingers? Kind of like that, but I'm standing, and then a group of 3 women passed by me. They're staring at me uncomfortably, peering through a palpable tension in the air. I'm sure they were thinking, or their face kind of said, "What is he doing? Why is he looking back at me and not flinching? Why isn't he smiling at me?" Flow, intuition, discernment. As you look at me, I look back without thinking. It's instinctual. It's a product of flow. I stand here now because I seek flow. You are here now as a product of flow. My facial expression, the soul behind my eyes reflect my flow. Intuition tells me that you do not mean well in your gaze. Discernment is the product of that intuition and lived experience. It tells me, beware. Beware of these 3 women. My face reflects the transmission that flows through me. Do not react, witness and be. I am loved and all is well, no matter what. And as you see me now, there is no lie as to how I feel. I don't need to lie to you. I don't need to put on an act, a mask. And as those ladies passed, another girl with her friend came behind them. And even though that friend, the other girl was with, returned like kind of similar discomfort, perhaps some judgmental projection. I could see it all over her face, all up in her aura. The girl she was with was actually delighted by my odd stance and position. She's like, "Harold, why are you standing like that? You're such a character." And at once, tension, discomfort, a kind of standoff gaze revealing all, moves into elation, recognition, a moment of levity. And as I watch it all past, I simply am, I witness, I receive. And in this story, my gift was a sweet reminder. The thing I received was a message. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and many are blind. This harkens back to a point from earlier, that God sends the right people at the right time. Trust God, not people. In each encounter, there is a lesson to learn and a role to play. I think that God is the flow that provides intuition, truth, and discernment. In this series of encounters following the flow, God assured me that I am just fine. As those women passed, I mustn't yield to tension for validation from them, to make them or myself comfortable. Perhaps I played a role in the lives of those women, standing as an example of that. Their role was to test me and remind me of it. It's hard to know where to turn, the right things to think or do. Who knows if I walk the right path in a given moment? Certainly no mortal, of that I am convinced. The mortal mind is bound to subjectivity, so I trust that something greater is at play, and I listen to my heart when it says nay. God will show the way. So be still. Flow, intuition, discernment. And rule number 6 is important because you need protection. In order for me to surrender to the flow, I must know I'm protected. Rule 6 of the Sovereignty Manifesto is protection. One of my favorite songs is called Shooting Star by Rod Wave. In the chorus, Rod sings... Hold up, let me get my... Why is it so hard? Why, when I get on the mic, I suddenly can't, breathe properly? Let me get tuned so I can sing this. He's like, sorry I broke your heart, baby. But what's a life without scars, baby? Sorry I broke your heart, baby. What's a life without scars, baby? The phrase is bittersweet, it's true, and it's painful. No soul leaves this earth unscathed. My only prayer is that those wounds do not kill me, but strengthen me. Freddie Gibbs raps in his song Rabbit Vision, a reoccurring phrase. A lot of shit, it broke my heart, but it fixed my vision. A lot of shit broke my heart, but it fixed my vision. Through pain we grow. But as Einstein says, the madness is in repeating patterns and expecting different results. Fool me once, fix my vision, fool me twice because I kept my eyes closed. But through faith I stand in a furnace, knowing that as long as I belong to something greater, I will be okay and protected. Everything Irie, call me Jamaican Abednego. May these scars fix my vision. Number 7, it's okay to cry and let die. Speaking of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, if you recall in this story from Daniel 3, the 3 men, refusing to bow to an idol, were sentenced to death by furnace. Ironically, their faith kept them alive in the flame, but the crowd, denying God for an idol under tyrannical governance, were lost. Spiritual corruption is a vapid life that precedes damnation. Whatever that means, that sounded cool when I wrote it. It's probably true. It's true, okay? The point is, some of the people bowing might have been Shadrach's loved ones, those Meshach once laughed with, shared a beer with, Abednego's childhood friends. If I were standing in that flame, I would have shed a tear. It's not my life that's lost. This is part of the pain in a trial by fire. Not that it's hot, not that it burns, but that you can't save everyone, even the ones you love. It's like Bob Marley says, many more will have to suffer. Many more will have to die. Don't ask me why. There's a natural mystic blowing in the air. The late Bob Marley, what a beautiful soul. If I ever kneel before an idol, Lord, forgive me, have mercy on me, and please fix my vision. 8. You walk alone under God. Maybe there will be true comrades in a path of authenticity, following a purpose, a mission that is righteous, but never self-righteous. Maybe there will be true comrades on that path, but don't count on it. Be pleasantly surprised. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego all converged on their individual walks with God. I find, I see, I read in the book. But think about the ratio of that. Out of a whole crowd, there were 2 other people with Abednego that would stand beside him. And they all knew each other already. That leads to the final rule of the manifesto I wrote. Do not seek love. Give it, be it, and never compromise. Love does not compromise. And I've taken my time to think about this one. Sometimes the loving thing to do is to be a human being, to experience hate and resentment, wash yourself clean, and return with clarity. I do not owe anyone affection, attention, or validation. I owe myself peace and respect. Put some respect on my name. And in doing so, I am the best of myself for the world and those who God sends to me in good faith. And it will never be transactional. My cup is already full. Through the darkest valleys atop the highest peaks, my head remains anointed, and I am a light onto the earth. This is love. There are no expectations, no exceptions. However, should I ever deserve anointment, I mustn't forget, anointment denotes solitude. Love, I find, is the deepest irony. Forged in isolation, it creates the truest connection with oneself for everyone else. How ambiguous, what a great paradox. Sovereignty Manifesto.